Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers they were never ready to hear. Every silent day without you is a storm they pretend isn't there, a quiet pressure building behind their smile. They'll post, they'll laugh, they'll pretend. But the truth is that every hour you don't call, every minute you don't show up, is slowly unraveling them. You don't need to argue, you don't need to explain, you don't even need to show you care. Because silence has a power that noise could never compete with. It's not passive, it's piercing. And every day you don't return, they feel it more than they'll ever admit. So if this message resonates with something deep inside you, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started. Stay close because this is going to be one they never forget. Hey folks, imagine this. You're like the moon in someone's night sky, not always visible but always felt. You were the light in their darkness, the calm in their chaos. They got used to your glow, took it for granted, and one day, without noise, without warning, you disappeared behind the clouds. Now their nights feel colder, the world a little darker. They won't say it out loud, but they're scanning the sky, hoping you'll shine again. That's the thing, my friends. They always notice the absence of light when they never appreciated the warmth it gave. Let's break the illusion they're trying to live in right now, that your silence means you've forgotten, that you're not affected, that you've moved on as if it meant nothing. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've chosen discipline over desperation, strength over spectacle. You didn't disappear to make a scene. You disappeared because you were tired of performing for someone who never truly watched. And that's power. You see, they expected chaos. They expected tears. They expected you to come crawling back, typing long messages demanding closure, begging for clarity. But what did you give them instead? Stillness. And let me tell you something, my friends. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is the scariest thing you can leave someone with, because in that silence there's no noise to blame, no chaos to escape into, just their thoughts and their guilt, and the echo of everything they thought they could replace. They thought the game was about who could stay away longer, but it's not a game when one of you has already healed. They thought your silence meant you were hurting, but pain doesn't sit quiet. Peace does. And you, my friend, are not broken. You are building quietly, calmly, relentlessly. There's a quote I love. You never realize how loud your presence was until all that's left is silence. And right now, that's what they're stuck with. They don't miss your words. They miss your energy, your consistency, your grounding presence. The you that stayed solid while they wavered. The you that showed up even when they didn't ask. And now, every silent day without you hurts a little more, a little deeper. But they'll never say it because saying it means admitting they lost something real. So keep your silence, not as punishment but as proof. Proof that you've grown, that you've mastered yourself, that you're not chasing what couldn't recognize your value. Let them wonder, let them spin stories, let them feel the weight of what they thought would be light. Say it with me. Silence is strength. Type it in the comments right now. I am the silence they feel. Feel it, believe it, own it. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting warmed up. Day 1, stillness that screams. The loudest screams are the ones no one hears. You ever sit in a room that's too quiet, so quiet that it actually starts to feel loud? That's what your silence has become to them. Not peace, not distance, but noise. A storm that doesn't shout, it hums. And every day you don't show up, it grows louder, heavier, more suffocating. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to send a message to be felt. Because, my friend, your stillness is doing all the speaking for you. And trust me, it's shaking their soul more than any word ever could. Imagine you're a lighthouse, tall, steady, always shining in their storm. They never questioned your presence. They thought you'd always be there, guiding, waiting, forgiving. But one day that light goes dark, no warning, no sound, just gone. Now they're out at sea, waves crashing, wind rising, and there's no light to guide them back. That silence, that absence, it doesn't bring relief. It brings panic. At first they play it cool, tell themselves it's just space, a break, nothing serious. They'll say, "I'm fine, I needed this." But at night, when everything else is quiet, they start hearing things they don't want to. Questions like whispers in their head. Why haven't they messaged me? Are they done for good? Did I mess up? Did I push them too far? That's what silence does. It turns every pause into paranoia, every moment into a mirror. Because deep down they expected noise. They were prepared for an argument, a breakdown, a text at midnight with a "let's talk." But you didn't give them that. You gave them stillness. And that stillness is screaming truth they tried to ignore. That maybe you meant more than they admitted. That maybe, just maybe, you're not coming back. Let's break the lie they're clinging to. If they cared, they'd reach out. Caring doesn't always chase. Sometimes caring looks like walking away to protect your own soul. Sometimes it's choosing silence because words won't change what they couldn't see when you were loud with love. You were consistent, you showed up, you gave grace, and they mistook that grace for weakness. But grace has limits, and now they're on the other side of it. The fear they won't say out loud that you've changed, that the silence they once enjoyed is now a wall they can't climb. They thought they'd always have access to you, but now the door is closed, and they don't even have the key. And that's the fear that haunts them, even when they're smiling, laughing, pretending. That fear lives in the stillness. It's hard, my friends, I know. Choosing silence when everything inside of you wants to reach out, when your heart is screaming but your spirit knows better. It's not weakness that makes you stay quiet, it's wisdom. It's knowing that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing, because silence doesn't mean surrender. It means you've handed them the consequences they created, and now you're just watching them face it. Here's a quote to hold on to. Don't waste words on people who deserve your silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. That's not cold, that's clarity. You're not heartless, you're healing. You're not distant, you're done performing. And even though they can't admit it, every silent day without you is a reminder that they lost something solid, something rare, something they thought they could play with and still keep. Let the silence stretch. Let it speak. Let it echo in the parts of them they tried to cover with distractions. Because this isn't just absence, it's accountability. Say it with me. My silence speaks volumes. Write it in the comments right now, not for them, but for you. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that silence doesn't mean defeat. It means evolution. And stay with me, because what's coming next is when the illusion they built starts to collapse and the truth starts to burn. Day 2. The illusion of moving on. Some people don't move on, they just move in circles and call it healing. They think they've moved on. That's the story they're selling to the world, and maybe even to themselves. They walk with their chest out, post the filtered smiles, add a few extra "living my best life" captions for good measure. But let's not be fooled, my friends. That's not peace, that's performance. And deep down, behind the show, behind the rehearsed happiness, they know it too. Imagine this, they're on a stage, spotlight shining, crowd watching. They're delivering their best act, strong, unbothered, better off without you. But behind the curtain, it's chaos. Makeup smudged, lines forgotten. The weight of your silence pressing against the back of their mind like a ghost they can't shake. And when the curtains close and the audience goes home, all that's left is the truth. The silence, the stillness, and that's when it hits. Because they thought moving on was about movement, New faces, new places, new distractions. They mistook busy for better. But healing doesn't happen in noise. Growth doesn't live in escape. You can run all day, but you can't outrun silence. You can't scroll away from a soul you used to feel safe with. And when the music stops, the pictures fade, and the attention wears thin, all they're left with is the question they swore they buried. Why do I still feel empty? Let's talk about that lie, the one they cling to like a security blanket. I'm fine without them. Maybe they even say it out loud. Maybe they convince a few friends. But if they were really fine, would they be watching your story from a fake account? Would they be checking if you've moved on? Would your silence still sit heavy on their chest like guilt they can't name? You see, they didn't expect you to stay quiet this long. They didn't plan for your silence to be permanent. They thought you'd flinch, thought you'd reach out eventually. But every day you don't, that illusion of freedom they're living in starts to break down. And here's the kicker. They aren't afraid you'll come back. They're afraid you won't. That you've actually found peace, that you're no longer orbiting their world. That the one who used to check in, overthink, and show up has outgrown the need to be needed. Because here's what nobody tells them. Peace isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's not something you post about. It's quiet, internal, unshakable. And right now, you are peace. You're still, you're grounded. And that scares them more than any "I miss you" ever could. They wanted you to be stuck. They needed to believe you were suffering without them. Because if you're okay without them, what does that say about their worth? If you've moved on without making a scene, it means they were never as necessary to your life as they hoped. And that thought, it cuts deep. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about revenge. This is about reality. You didn't disappear to prove anything. You walked away because your soul outgrew the drama, the mind games, the need to be understood by someone who never even tried. And now your silence, it's not revenge, it's reflection. It's the mirror they can't avoid, the quiet reminder that something real walked out of their life and isn't checking back in. Here's a quote to carry with you. Sometimes the best closure is understanding that you deserve better, and you do. You always did. That's the part they didn't see while you were giving, while you were forgiving, while you were staying. But now you've left, not with a bang, not with a fight, just stillness. And that stillness is deafening, because when someone is used to your attention, your absence isn't silence. It's punishment they gave themselves. So say it with me. Their illusion isn't my truth. Type it in the comments right now. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're not falling for the act anymore. You've left the theater. You've stopped watching the same old show. And stay with me, because next, we're diving into the echoes, the memories they try to silence but can't. Day 4. Questions that hit harder than answers. It's not your silence that hurts them. It's the questions it forces them to ask. You see, silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a trigger, a mirror, a storm of thoughts with no one there to stop the thunder. And for them, every silent day without you becomes a day they battle the one thing they swore they'd never face, their own mind. Because when you stop talking, they start thinking, and those thoughts hit harder than any closure ever could. They're not asking themselves the easy stuff anymore. It's not, "I wonder what they're doing." Now it's, "Why haven't they reached out? Have they moved on? Did I mess it all up?" The silence isn't peaceful anymore. It's pressure, confusion, self-doubt creeping in with every hour you stay quiet. Picture this. Imagine walking into a dark room expecting the light to turn on like it always did. But now you flip the switch and nothing happens. You tap it again, still dark. You start checking wires, you question the bulb. Then you start questioning yourself. Did I break something? That's what your silence has become. That room, that's their comfort zone. You were the light, and now that it's off, they're fumbling, panicking, searching for something they didn't realize they needed: your presence. Let's break the myth people love to believe. If they cared, they'd say something. Wrong. Some people care deeply, but their pride is louder than their love. Their ego wears armor that their heart can't break through. So instead of reaching out, they sit in silence, drowning in it. But here's the twist. They blame your silence while secretly hoping it's temporary, hoping it's not goodbye, hoping it's not too late. And that's where the questions come in. The ones that echo at night when the world is quiet and distractions run out. Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Would they answer if I called? The brain doesn't handle uncertainty well, and when you remove yourself without explanation, you give them no answers, only endless possibilities. And those possibilities, that's what drives people mad. You didn't walk away to punish them. You walked away because the conversation had become one-sided, because your heart was being stretched too thin, trying to explain itself to someone who never really listened. And now they are listening to silence, and it's saying everything they refused to hear before. They thought you'd stay predictable, that you'd always answer, always check in, always be available. But now you're the question mark. You've gone from "I know what they'll do" to "I have no idea what they're thinking." And in a world obsessed with control and constant updates, mystery is terrifying. And you, my friend, have become the mystery they can't solve. Here's a little truth they didn't expect to face. You used to answer. You used to explain. Now your silence is the answer. It's not a cliffhanger, it's a full stop. But I get it. Sometimes the temptation to break that silence is strong, to clear the air, to just say one last thing. But don't give them clarity when confusion is the consequence of their own choices. Don't water the garden they abandoned. Let them wonder. Let them create theories. Let them go through the questions over and over in their head. Because that doubt they're wrestling with, it's not punishment, it's your presence. Unshakable even in absence. There's a quote I'll leave you with. Mystery keeps people up at night. Clarity lets them sleep. And right now, you've become their insomnia, the thought that won't go away, the peace they can't find. Not because you're loud, but because you're gone. So say it with me. I am the question they can't answer. Type it in the comments right now. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that your silence isn't confusion, it's control. And stay with me, because next, we're going deeper into the weight of your absence, the impact they never calculated, and why your energy was never replaceable. Day 5. The weight of your absence. Your absence doesn't make a sound, but it makes everything feel heavier. They thought it would feel lighter when you left, easier, calmer. They thought they'd finally have space to breathe, to feel free again. That's the story they told themselves, and maybe even told others. But freedom without peace is just a louder kind of pain. And every silent day without you is a reminder that peace was never found in distance. It was found in you. They don't say it out loud, but everything feels heavier now. Mornings don't come with that same clarity. Conversations don't carry the same ease. There's no one grounding their chaos anymore, no one calming the storms behind their smile. And it's not because you said something, it's because you didn't. You didn't beg, you didn't explain, you didn't try to make them see what they refused to value. You just left, quietly, fully, and that quiet departure, that's what's weighing them down. Now imagine you were the gravity in their world, always holding things together, always keeping things from floating too far or falling too fast. They didn't see it. They thought gravity was just there, something they didn't need to appreciate, just rely on until it disappeared. And now everything feels off, unstable. Nothing fits the way it used to. They're drifting, and the scariest part, they don't know how to anchor themselves without you. Let's break another lie. They're doing better without you. No, my friends, they're doing louder without you. There's a difference. Louder isn't better, it's just more desperate, more photos, more noise, more distractions. But underneath all of that, there's a weight they can't lift. And that weight isn't your presence, it's your absence. You see, they never realized what your energy did for them, the way your presence created a quiet safety even when words weren't spoken, the way you held space for them when they didn't know how to hold it for themselves. You were calm, steady. You were the exhale in their anxiety. And now that you're gone, they're realizing it wasn't just love you gave them, it was balance. And it's not just about attention, it's about energy, about emotional stability, about the fact that when things got heavy, you didn't run. You stayed, you carried, you helped hold it all together. And now, without you, that same world feels heavier than ever. The same days they used to float through now feel like they're walking through fog with bricks tied to their ankles. And the worst part, they can't name it. They don't know why they feel this way, but you do. It's because your energy isn't just memorable. It's irreplaceable. You didn't just fill a role. You filled a void they didn't know they had until you stopped. And now that peace, that calm, that presence they took for granted, it's missing. And nothing they do brings it back. There's a quote that says, "When someone brings you peace, protect them." That kind of energy is rare, but they didn't protect it. They tested it, pushed it, expected it to keep showing up, even when they stopped showing up for it. And now the absence of that peace is a weight on their chest they can't breathe around. But here's the powerful part. You didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't have to argue or beg or scream to be seen. You just left with your peace. And in doing so, you showed them how heavy the world is without someone who truly cares. That's not revenge. That's reality. So don't regret walking away. Don't question the silence. Don't wonder if they're okay without you. Because every day you stay gone, every moment you stay grounded in your healing, your absence does the work. It teaches, it reminds, it redefines what they thought was forgettable into something unforgettable. Say it with me. I am the peace they lost. Type it in the comments right now. Not for their validation, but for your own recognition. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your energy was never ordinary. It was the foundation. And stay with me, because next, we're walking into the battleground where pride and pain collide, where their ego tries to stay silent, but their heart is already screaming. Day 6, their pride versus their pain. Ego shouts, "I'm fine," but the heart whispers, "You let something real slip away." You can always tell when pride is in control. Everything looks perfect on the surface. They stand tall, act cold, speak like it never touched them. But if you look a little closer, if you really pay attention, you'll see the cracks forming underneath the mask. Because pride may put on a show, but pain doesn't stay silent forever. And the longer you stay gone, the louder their hearts start screaming behind the scenes. They walked away like it didn't matter. Or maybe they pushed you away and told themselves it was the right thing. They wore confidence like armor, told themselves, "I'll be fine without them." But here's the truth, my friends. The heart doesn't care about armor. It doesn't care about Instagram stories, about who said what or who walked away first. The heart only knows one thing: what's real. And when you leave something real behind, it starts to ache. Imagine this: 2 people standing in the same room. One is yelling, the other is silent. One is posting, pretending, performing. The other is calm, detached, unreadable. But who's really hurting more? The one who needs the world to see they're okay, or the one who knows they're okay without needing to prove it? Pride will have them laughing out loud in front of others while crying in the dark. Pride will have them typing out messages at 2 a.m. reading them over and over, then deleting them because they're not reaching out first. Pride keeps their finger hovering over your name, knowing they need to hear your voice but refusing to make the call. And pain. Pain is just watching, growing stronger, waiting for pride to break. Let's rip apart another lie. If they haven't reached out, they must not care. Sometimes they care so much, it paralyzes them. They're terrified of being the one who folds first, of admitting they messed up, of letting go of the story they created, where you were the villain and they were the one in control. That's the hardest pill for pride to swallow, that maybe, just maybe, they were the problem. But your silence is not just distance. It's a declaration, a boundary, a message that says, I no longer negotiate my peace. And every time you stay quiet, every time you choose self-respect over reaction, their pride takes another hit. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because they're finally forced to feel what they buried under ego. It's a war inside them now, heart versus pride. The heart says, reach out, say something, fix this. But pride says, don't you dare, they should come to you. And so they sit, torn, stubborn, silent, losing someone they still think about every day, all because the lie matters more than the truth. And it's sad, isn't it? To love someone but refuse to show it. To miss someone but stay silent. To feel everything and still do nothing. But that's the cost of letting ego lead. And you, my friend, were never meant to be an afterthought behind someone's pride. Here's a quote I want you to keep with you. The heart never lies. It's pride that makes us ignore the truth. And they're ignoring it every single day. You stay silent. They pretend not to care, but they're living in denial. You're not just gone. You've become the one thought they can't quiet. But let them wrestle with it. Let them battle themselves. That fight, it's not yours anymore. You already chose your side. You chose growth over games. You chose healing over hoping. You chose clarity over confusion. So say it with me. My peace is louder than their pride. Type it in the comments right now. Speak it into existence. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that walking away wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. And stay with me because next, we're stepping into what comes after pride. The part they can't escape, the part that eats away at them quietly, slowly, relentlessly. Regret. Day 7. The unstoppable force of regret. Regret doesn't knock. It breaks in slowly, quietly, then all at once. At first, they don't feel it. The silence feels like peace, like control, like freedom. They think they've won. They think walking away was strength, that your silence means surrender, that your stillness means weakness. But my friends, time has a funny way of working. It doesn't rush, it doesn't shout, it just waits. And while they're out pretending, posting, pushing it all down, regret is slowly building in the shadows. See, regret doesn't always show up wearing a sad face. It often hides behind the smile, behind the I'm fine they repeat to everyone, including themselves. But deep down, that's where the cracks start. That's where the weight begins. That's where your silence turns from an absence into a consequence. And every passing day without you adds another brick to the burden they now carry. Imagine their mind like a room. When you were around, it was filled with light, safe, warm, familiar. But now that you're gone, that room is empty. And at first, they liked the space. They thought they needed it. But then memories start walking in, quietly, slowly. The way you used to look at them, the way you stayed calm when they were chaotic, the way you never asked for much but gave everything. And now that room is haunted, not by ghosts, but by the realization that they let go of something real. Let's break the lie they once told themselves. I'll be happier without them. No, what they really meant was, I'll be freer to run from myself. But the truth has a way of circling back, especially when there's silence, especially when there's no distraction loud enough to drown out the echo of what they lost. And that's what regret does. It waits in the silence. It waits for the mask to slip, and then it strikes. They thought they could replace you, find someone new, move on fast. But it turns out you weren't just a person. You were a presence, an experience. You were a grounding force in their storm. And now every new connection feels hollow. Every conversation feels forced. Every moment of quiet feels like a spotlight on what they threw away. It hits them late at night, when the noise fades, when the phone stops buzzing, when there's no one to impress and no one to post for. That's when your memory crawls in and makes itself comfortable. That's when the truth whispers, you had something rare and you let it go. Here's the part they never saw coming. You didn't just disappear, you evolved. You didn't break, you built. You didn't shrink, you rose. And they're watching, even if they never admit it, watching you glow without them, watching you grow in your silence. And that's what regret feeds on, the realization that they didn't just lose you, they lost the version of themselves that existed only around you. You were the mirror that reflected the best parts of them, the calm in their chaos, the one person who stayed solid when everything else felt shaky. And now that mirror is gone and they don't like what they see without it. They didn't just lose love, they lost their grounding. There's a quote I need you to hold on to. Regret is the price you pay for not recognizing value when it was in front of you. And they're paying it day by day, quietly, alone. Because your silence isn't just quiet, it's exposing, it's revealing. It's the spotlight they never asked for but now can't escape. But you're not here to ease their regret. That's not your job. That's not your burden. You gave your heart. You gave your effort. You gave your patience. And when it was no longer respected, you gave your absence. That's your power. That's your closure. Say it with me. Their regret is not my responsibility. Type it in the comments right now. Say it for the version of you that once begged to be understood. Say it for the nights you stayed silent even when it hurt. Say it to show the world that healing is not about going back. It's about rising forward. And stay with me because next, we're unlocking the secret behind all of it. Why your absence isn't just painful, it's unforgettable. And why desire always returns to what it can't touch. 8. Absence reshapes desire. Desire doesn't die in silence. It's born there. They didn't want you when you were always there. That's the hard truth. When you were answering every message, picking up every call, giving without being asked, they didn't crave you. They expected you. They didn't desire the light you brought because it was always on. And people get comfortable with light until it disappears. Until they're left in the dark, staring into silence, wondering why nothing feels warm anymore. Your absence, my friends, didn't just hurt them. It reshaped you in their eyes. It turned you from predictable to mysterious, from available to unattainable. It created a gap they thought they'd never fill. And now, every silent day without you is a blank page they can't stop trying to fill. Because here's the twist. Desire doesn't grow in noise. It grows in space, in uncertainty, in that haunting feeling of, did I lose something I'll never get back? Imagine this. You were a fire in their life, consistent, comforting, burning steady, even when they forgot to feed the flame. But now the fire's out. No warning, no final spark, just cold air and the memory of heat. And suddenly, every hand they reach for isn't warm enough. Every conversation feels thin. Every new face is just another attempt to recreate a feeling that only existed with you. They thought they'd be fine. They thought silence meant separation. That space would bring peace. But it brought curiosity, confusion, craving. And now they're wondering, who are you talking to? Have you moved on? Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you reacting like they imagined you would? That stillness they thought would show weakness is now screaming one undeniable truth. You're no longer waiting. Let's kill another lie. If you stop talking to someone, they'll forget you. People don't forget those who made them feel safe. They don't forget the ones who saw through their walls, stayed when it was inconvenient, loved them without performance. What they forget are the temporary thrills, the attention seekers, the easy replacements. But you were presence, you were energy, you were peace. And that doesn't fade, that haunts. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. If this spoke to you, like this video, subscribe for more and share this with someone who needs to hear it.